Hey, everybody, welcome to Track Talk, the legendary drumming of Ringo Starr, with my very special guest, Gregg Bissonette. Who better than Gregg to do a deep dive into Ringo's drumming? He's not only Ringo's biggest fan, but he's been his drummer since 2008 in the All-Star Band. So come along for the ride with Gregg and me. I think you're going to really like this episode. We left no stone unturned, as they say. This is part one of two parts, and I do hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching. And check out part two. I'll see you on the other side. Thanks. I'd like to welcome the returning champion, if there ever was a returning champion, my good friend, the one and only Gregg Bissonette. Please welcome Gregg.
Honey, I love you, man.
I love you too, brother. So good to
We
see
have known
you.
each other so long. When
I
did we
know.
meet?
1985, Gregg, 1985.
Wow.
And I'll tell you, I mean, this is what I remember from that first time I met you, that we instantly bonded over Ringo. I remember us talking about Ringo, and here's this person I just met, you just met, and we became buddies like instantly from that. So
There's so many drummers all over the world have either started playing because of Ringo or gotten friendships together like you and I because of talking about
yeah,
Ringo, talking about the Ed Sullivan Show, seeing them live, just anything. It's such a great bonding point.
Ringo does it all. And talk about seeing him live. Let's take a second before we jump into the Track Talk episode. By the way, thank you for being here today, Gregg.
Thank you for having me.
So appreciate it. And you got to see Ringo. Your dad got you and your brother and your sister tickets to see Ringo in 1966.
Yeah, what happened was my dad was playing a gig with his band at the Ambassador Hotel, and he came out in the lobby and he just saw thousands of screaming, young kids and teenagers and people in their 20s. And he asked the food and beverage manager guy who was his friend. I know this because he kept telling me the story over the years. What's going on? Why are all these screaming girls in the lobby? But the Beatles are staying upstairs. They're playing tomorrow night at Olympia Hockey Arena in Detroit. And my dad said, wow, could you get me close to 6 tickets? And he said, why are you buying? It's the Beatles. They've been sold out for 6 months, but I like you. You're a good guy. Come back after the gig. I'll see what I can do. And my dad went back into the bar, and the guy said, I got you 6 tickets, but it's going to cost you, it's going to be $36 total, 6,000 tickets. And so he came home. My sister was too young. And she stayed home. My mom stayed home with my sister, but my brother Matt and my dad and I went, and we had some neighbor friends.
Oh, okay.
We
Yeah.
were there, Detroit Olympia Hockey Arena, 66. Wow.
Oh,
All I can think about is I'm in the same room with these 4 guys.
yeah. Oh my gosh. And then years later, right, when you guys were with the All-Star Band with Ringo, you played in Detroit. Did you guys drive by
Well,
the
what
site
happened,
of?
we were playing at the Fox Theater, and after sound check, during sound check, I said, Ringo, just a few blocks from here is where you played at Olympia Hockey Arena, where I saw you in 66. He said, wow, that was right near here. Let's go. We'll get a car. We'll go after the sound check. And I said, man, unlike Europe, where they don't tear down buildings of historical significance, we do in America. And it's a parking lot now. He said, But after the first song, he said, I was talking to my friend on the other kit, and when he was 7 in 66, he went to the other place to see us. And I was like, oh my gosh. And
Oh,
Ringo is going to be 83 years young in a few weeks on July 7th. And man, we just finished a month-long tour. He is so fit and so in shape. And he exercises so great, and his eating habits are so wonderful. And he's about peace and love, Johnny. As you know
yeah.
Ringo. He loves you, man. You'd often come to the gigs before. Where was that outdoor gig in Boston where you came?
I've come to see you a bunch of times at I don't know what it's called now, but it used to be called the Fleet Pavilion, Bank of America Pavilion, right on the water there. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a great
You brought him
spot.
some cufflinks one time
That's right, for his 70th birthday.
for
Yeah.
his 70th. There you go.
That was so memorable. I'll tell you, that was at the sound check. I remember this. I tell this story. You had me come early. I came to sound check. Jeff Jonas brought me in, and I'm standing behind you and Ringo, and he was showing you the intro to Come Together. I remember you guys were both playing it, and you looked over at me, and you saw me, and you waved, and you had this look in your face like, Can you believe this? I'm sitting here with Ringo and he's, I know. We'll start talking about some music in a minute, but I want to ask you and for everybody watching this, what it must feel like every night being up there with him, because this guy, Greg, I've known you 40 years, and from the day I met you, your favorite, this isn't like a new thing because you got the gig with Ringo, he's your favorite drummer. He's always been your favorite drummer. And you play in his band for 15 years, you've been his drummer.
You know what's crazy is in '03, I got the gig with this other band called Ringo and the Roundheads. And my brother Matt, who's in Elton John's band, they're over in Europe on this long Goodbye Yellow Brick Road tour. He played bass in the Roundheads. He had a Hofner and he played bass and I played drums. That was '03. So it's been 20 years. It was 20 years ago this year. 2003 to 2008. And in 2008, the All-Star Band. So it's just unbelievable. And what I think about, I look 5 feet to my right at sound check and at the gigs, and I think, man, I'm playing next to the guy that got me into wanting to be in a band and still wanting to be in a band, his band, Ringo Starr and his All-Star Band. And even though we just finished this first leg of 2023 tour, Saturday night in San Jose, we start up again September 15th on an East Coast tour. So he just loves playing. And one of the things I'd love to point the listeners and viewers to is Ringo's masterclass on masterclass.com.
Yes.
One of the great things he says in there, and it's the greatest way to hear firsthand about his playing and his life. Watch Ringo on masterclass.com. The last thing he says before it signs off is, the more you play, the better life is.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Yeah.
Right? It's true for all of us. The more we play, the better life is.
Exactly. That just sums it right up. I mean, right? We can both, any drummer watching this can relate to that.
And you've got your left-handed Ludwig kit, your cool band. Your band is called, it's a video game name. What's your band called?
Grand Theft Audio, but close to
Grand Theft Audio. Do you play Beatles songs in Grand Theft Audio?
Yeah, we do. A couple of them that we're going to talk about today, in fact. Yeah.
And I know Kelly, one time you were working on Help. She said, why are you playing that over and over? Because it's hard.
Right.
Double stops.
Oh man, I know. I still struggle with that song, Greg. We're going to talk about that. And yeah, and hopefully she's not going to see this. She might. No. She was just telling me to like move on from that. Like don't worry about it. And I'm like, no, I have to work on this. I have to get this right.
Because Ringo does it effortlessly without thinking about it.
Oh my God.
We have to really work on it.
Yeah.
Double stops that fast,
Yeah.
Hard
And
to do.
And we'll get to this too. And Ticket to Ride, I know you've talked about this too. That one spot where he does that little, that little like 16th. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're all even. Ba, 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 ba. Mine go, his are so perfect.
I know. So the way you played that was did Ringo play it with his right hand on the tom-tom or his left? You think probably played it that way?
On Ticket to Ride?
On Ticket to Ride, that.
I think it's this. And then both hands together. And so, but what's interesting, because you're a lefty, and he's a lefty, but he's on a right-handed kid. You're a lefty, Johnny, but you're on a left-handed kid. If you watch the videos of Help, when John counts it out, 1, 2, 3, 4, Help, you see and hear him leading with his left hand on the high hand. Crash 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, crash 2, 3. So he's leading with his left hand on the high hand. And whenever he starts fills, I go on my favorite people fill. But he leads left. It's so cool.
It's so cool. I watched the video from Ed Sullivan over and over, the Help video when he's doing that. And I didn't know that, it wasn't until I got hip to watching the video, like listening to the record, I assumed, he was playing it with his right hand, but it opens it up to showing you just how unbelievable he is, his ambidextrousness, in terms of like what he could do in the kit.
Because on a lot of songs like Help, he's leading with his right hand.
Yeah.
And if we do What Goes On and we do Act Naturally, and those are fast, what goes on in your heart, and all I gotta do is act, and he's just going like this. And so how he has the other day, he came up to his kid and I said, "Man, we had just played What Goes On," and I said, "Man, the stamina of your right hand." And he just said, "Yeah, I don't really think about it. I just do it." So his left is so strong because he's a lefty.
Yeah.
His
Yeah.
lefty is so quick, but his right hand, taka, 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 endurance is amazing.
It is. Yeah. And I'll just say too, I think we talk a lot about Ringo being left-handed and the fact that he starts his fills with his left hand typically, maybe not every time, but often he'll do that. But I think in addition to that, what makes him so special is just what you just said, that his left hand and his right hand are almost like equally strong, whereas most right hand drummers really have to work on their, well, no, not you, but
Oh,
it's,
guilty for sure. My right's way stronger than my left. And
yeah,
someone never knows. I know we're jumping around, but that's a great example.
yeah,
Uh, Excuse me for jumping, but I used to play it like this. Then he jumped up on the kit and he didn't take the right hand off the cymbal. Because his left hand's so strong and so
yeah.
consistent, and so is his right hand.
Wow. Well, let's want to play some music. Shall we get into
Yeah,
some
lead the
tunes?
way.
All right. So the first tune we'll start with is one that we both love. In fact, we love all these songs, but this is "I Feel Fine." And maybe you could set this up a little bit and just talk about what Ringo's part.
Yeah, yeah.
Where's
So I know just from being Ringo's friend for 20 years, I know how much he loves Ray Charles. And years ago, I got to play on a version, I got to play live with Ray at the record plant. And it was Jerry Hay producing an album for Ray of duets. And Ray did You Are My Sunshine. And it was a shuffle, like, you are my sunshine. And Jimmy Johnson was playing bass. Anyway, I sent it to Ringo. I said, check this out. And he goes, wow, you're playing with Ray on a song. Ray is one of his favorite musicians. And so my good friend and roommate when I was living in Dallas in North Texas was John Bryant. And John Bryant is a great Dallas drummer. He plays with all kinds of people. He works a lot with Stuart Copeland on his stuff, and he's played with Joe Walsh. He's played with Don Henley. He had a band called Firework in Dallas. I used to be in a band called Buster Brown. And John and I are really good friends. And John, has told me many times that, baby, what I say, that's definitely 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2. And one time he changed it around, and Ray said, Johnny, don't ever change that around. It's 1, 2, 3, bop, bop. But on I Feel Fine, I'm sure it was influenced by what I say. But Ringo flips it. And instead of going 1, bop, boom, 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 he goes 1, boom, boom, bop. Boom, bam, bada, boom, bee, bee, bam, bada, boom. So and I've got tea towels. Gary Astridge, we'll talk about Gary in a minute, but Gary has RingoStarDrumsets.com. Gary Astridge is a Ringo drum set aficionado, and he got me these Abbey Road tea towels. You'll see
Man?
these in the back movie. Ringo used tea towels quite a bit. He started us on the whole tea towel thing. So I've got tea towels on my snare, rack, and floor.
Yeah.
If you'd like to play I Feel Fine, you'll hear that. Dum, 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 bop.
All right. We'll play a little bit of this track. Here we go. "I Feel Fine."
Baby's good to me, she's happy as can be, she said so. I'm in love with her and I feel fine.
Hey, Johnny.
Baby
Unbelievable
says she's
groove.
mine, she tells me
Yeah.
all
Let me
the time,
pause it.
she said so.
You know that middle break where it's like, boom, ba, ba, da, boom, beep, beep, and then he plays that ba, 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 ba. That's a really cool break. I remember playing I Feel Fine and jamming along at sound check with Ringo, and he said, "Do you know the middle break? Can you play that middle break? It's kind of somewhere in the middle." I'm putting you on the spot. There's like a little breakdown.
Yeah. I want me to play it right now?
Can you find it? It's
Yeah,
such a cool.
absolutely. Absolutely. Hang on a second. It is somewhere in the middle. I'm going to say it's right about here. Let's try this.
She's in love with me and
Let's
I
see.
feel fine.
Coming up. This is a song my band plays too.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. Here we go.
Baby says she's mine,
Man,
you know she
I know.
tells me all
I know.
the
It's
time, you know
timeless. It's timeless. And when I came to your house that time, Greg, I'm sure that was one of the songs we played together when we played double drums.
I
And
bet it was, Tony.
yeah.
There's so many, and the ones we're going to talk about today are some of our favorites. But there's so many. But Ringo really plays with the lyrics. He plays with the vocals. He plays with the riffs. He's not coming up with fills just because they're cool fills. He's coming up with fills that work.
Yeah.
I mean, they just work lyrically and
Yeah.
melodically.
You know what I found too, Greg, as I got older, I loved listening to him as a youngster just because I love the music so much and I love the drums. And then, we get older and you start really like listening to things more critically and like really breaking stuff down. And I realized to play what Ringo plays the right way, correctly, not nothing, but many of his parts are not what they sound like or seem to be until you try to play them, right? And then you realize, wait a minute, he's actually like you. We'll talk about this when we get to Drive My Car, but that intro. Well, I used to think it was just a little syncopated doo-doo-doo, but it sounds like he's doing like a doodle-doo-doo-doo, like. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure you can
do.
play it. I can't really.
I can't wait to talk about Drive My Car. But one of the reasons I think you hit it on the head, it seems like something different than it is. And I think the reason for that is his swing factor. Ringo
Yeah,
has so
yeah.
much swing in his playing. And I know that he loves Cozy Cole. He loves Topsy. I get to play Yellow Submarine on trumpet when he goes in the band, big as to play. And just fun playing. Can you do it standing up? Okay, I'm just playing kick drum. We often jam on Topsy. Topsy's a Cozy Cole song. And that swing, that floor tom swing, he just loves the swing. And when he puts these fills in there on I Feel Fine, on Drive My Car, on Rain, on so many of the songs we're going to talk about today, it's just got that feel, that swing, that lope that moves it and percolates it. And so
Yeah.
a lot of people try to emulate it, but it's only he can do it the right way.
I know, and I learned that too. Like, playing Beatles songs as a youngster, like I'd play what I thought was the right sticking, and the put the spaces where it needed to be, or put the fills where they need to be. But now when I listen to what he plays, it's it's so creative. It's so like the parts are such a big, to me, they're such a huge part of the composition of the song, and we're going to talk about some of those songs as we go along here that are like just such a big part of the song, what he came up with for a drum part. And let's jump ahead to She Loves You.
Yeah.
And this has got that great riding floor tom part that we've talked about before. And should we start it off?
Sure, but before you play it, I want to just mention that when I was a kid, and I'm sure when you were a kid too, I never really heard, you just said the phrase riding on the floor. I never
Yeah.
really heard people with their riding on the floor tom. I heard riding on the hi-hat. In fact, one of the number one beats that as I get older and I listen every day to Beatles songs, I think the number one most used kick drum part, in my estimation, on the first several Beatle albums, isn't boom, bop, boom, bop, or boom, bop, boom, boom, bop, or boom, bop, boom, bop, boom, boom. It's this one. Boom, bop, boom, boom, bop, boom, boom. And the way that goes with Paul's bass, you listen to, especially on Rubber Soul, you
Yeah.
hear so many different tempos. Boom, bop, boom, boom, da, boom, boom.
Yeah.
There,
That's
kick, kick. So
yeah.
on She Loves You, he's writing on the floor tom, but he starts with the rack tom, Phil. And there's that little bop, 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 brap, brap, Ticket to Ride theme.
Yeah.
One, two, 1, 2. I never heard anybody start with put it the floor tom.
Yeah.
Let's play that intro, Johnny.
Oh, it's the intro is so killer. Love playing this song.
She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah, 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 yeah. You think you've lost your love?
Wow.
You know, yeah, I know. And then his what he plays in the hi-hat is so even and so clean. It's just that wash that he creates with that, just I mean, it's just, is it straight eighth notes, or is he playing even just some even dotted extra like sort of dotted notes in there, or?
Well, I think it's like you said, it's a wash, and
Yeah,
it's got a swing to it. It's
yeah,
a straight eighth note song, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, but it's kind of got that wash gives it a
that,
little instead of this
yeah, yeah,
wash and the loose hat. It gives it again, like a life of its own. A
yeah,
high,
yeah. It's so great. Let's play a little bit more of it
yeah.
just to get to some of those other
When I
parts.
saw her yesterday, it's you she's thinking of. And she told me what to say. She said she loves you, and you know that can't be bad. Yes, she loves you, and you know you should be glad. She said you hurt her so, she almost lost her mind. But now she says she knows you're not the hurting kind. She said she loves you, and you know that can't be bad. Yes, she loves you, and you know you should be glad. She loves you, yeah,
Yeah,
she loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. With a love like that, you know you should be glad.
Wow, man.
man.
It takes you right back,
Yeah,
doesn't it? You know what's crazy too, Johnny? When you think about how old Ringo was, this song, She Loves You, it was recorded 6 days before Ringo's 23rd birthday. It was July 1st, 1963, 6 days before he turned 23. And man, his maturity to play the right parts for the songs, he'd already been playing in the Beatles and the Cavern and playing in the Reeperbahn in Hamburg. He'd already been playing with Rory Storm and the Hurricanes and the Eddie Clayton Skiffle Group. He'd been playing a lot by the time he was 23. A
yeah,
lot of
yeah. I know, but I think about that too. I think about the fact that, they recorded Abbey Road and Let It Be when he was 28, basically. I mean, it's and that song, like you said, 22 years old. It's unbelievable that, like, he had the maturity and the when I was 22, I would have played a fill anywhere I could. You know what I mean? It's like, oh look, there's 4 bars. I'm gonna just play something right now, and yeah, but
always a band guy. Even, today with the All-Star Band since 1989, he's had the All-Star Band. It's a band. And
yeah,
we
yeah,
do everybody's versions, our versions of everybody's songs. Like right now, it's Steve Lukather from Toto. We do Africa, Rosanna, Hold the Line, but we do it our way. Ringo just wants to make it our own. And Colin Hay, we do Overkill, Who Can It Be Now, Land Down Under, but we do it our way.
yeah,
And
yeah,
Frankenstein, Free Ride, He does a version of Johnny Be Good from Edgar's album that I had by the grace of God, I got to play on 16 of the 17 songs. It's called Brother Johnny, and it won a Grammy for Best Contemporary Blues Album this year. But he did a version of Johnny Be Good, and we play that. And on this crash, Ringo's right in, man. He's washing it with the shoulder,
Yeah.
we put that together. He's like, come on, let's do it together. We do it together. And Ringo played on one of the songs too, Stranger, on that album. It's a great album, Edgar's album. But we kind of make everybody's songs our own. Hamish Stewart from the Average White Band, pick up the pieces, work to do, and cut the cake. But we make them our own versions, and we jam. And he's a band guy. He's all about playing in a band. He never sat down on the drums and just said, I'm going to work on this fill or this beat. Everything he did, and he talks about this a lot in Masterclass, came from playing in a band.
Yeah, yeah. You can feel that about him, that he's all about being an accompanist to the music. It's not about him. He's, and I think it was either in Masterclass or somewhere where he talked about one of his philosophies, I guess, if for lack of a better word, was never play a fill where there's a vocal, right? I mean, never play something when there's support the vocal all the time and let that be what drives the song. And that's perfect, right? I mean,
and instead of looking at a chart, and a drum part or a guitar chart or a chord chart, he'd rather have the lyrics. So he knows when the lyrics are, singing and when they're not singing. And he always fills around the vocals so well.
Yeah, yeah. What an incredible, musician, but his mind, the fact that he just knows instinctively what to play all the time. I mean, that's what I get.
Listen, Johnny, you've talked to Ringo.
Yeah.
He's a great listener.
Yeah.
He looks in the eye and he listens to what you're saying. And then he responds, just like we're supposed to have conversations like we're having now. A lot of drummers, they don't really listen to what the rest of the band's doing. They're too busy thinking about what fill am I going to do in 8 bars or in a bar. He's not thinking about what he's going to do. He's listening. He's listening to vocals. He's listening to the band. And then he plays, like you said, the word you just had, accompanist.
Yeah.
He plays for the song. That's what it's about.
Yeah, yeah. There's so many great drummers that we know are, friends of ours and heroes of ours, but I think Ringo, really is in another place when it comes to being a drummer that plays for the song. That really, that's what it's always been about. And I used to try to explain it to people, when we were younger and you'd have, disagreements, arguments with other drummers who'd say, well, this guy's a better drummer because he has more cymbals and more drums than Ringo, or, you know what I mean? And that whole argument. And what I used to try to explain to people is yeah, but listen to this song and you'll hear Ringo play this part that most drummers would have never come up with, but it just fit this spot. He sits out playing the hi-hat in this one spot. He's just playing the bass drum and the snare drum and leaving that space open for the rest of the, maybe George is playing something
sounds like you're talking about Come Together.
Well, there you go. There's a great example. Yeah.
There's a lead in.
Yeah. Yeah. Should we jump ahead? We don't have to go in any sort of chronology. Let's talk about that song.
Yeah, because he doesn't play, when John's singing, hold you in his armchair, you can feel. He's not playing hi-hat. He's not playing snare. He's just playing, like you said, the bass drum.
Yeah.
Hold you in his armchair, you can feel his disease. And when the guitar and the bass, boom, boom, ba-da-ba, a lot of drummers would have gone, boom, boom, ba-da-ba,
yeah,
which is fine, but he plays rhythmically melodic with that part. And I'm not going to be able to, I don't have a third tom. I only have a 4-piece kit here with my tea towels. And I'm not going to attempt to do the perfect Ringo putting on the floor tom, leading left, as he's told me many times he did. I'm going to play it the way I've always played it.
Yeah.
That's not the way he would play it on that kit, that Come Together kit, the Get Back kit. He's playing, as he says, leading floor tom and going up. That's a topic for a lot of discussions. But anyway, he doesn't play the hi-hat in the chorus. He just plays Come Together right now. common bass drum on the verse. He wear no shoe shine, he got toe jam football, and then hold you in his arms. Why don't we play it? And everybody will get the idea. You don't have to play the hi-hat all the time, the ride cymbal all the time. You can play parts of the kit that work for parts of the lyrics, parts of the song.
This is probably one of the greatest drum tracks, one of the greatest composed drum parts ever.
And they know what song it is just by hearing the drum part alone.
Exactly. Yep.
Four common bass drum only.
Yeah. And Paul's bass part, man, with it, just wow.
Oh, here comes bass drum only. With a swing.
Oh yeah, always with a swing. Yeah.
Wait till we get to the chorus.
Yeah.
No,
That's a great point, Greg. Too the swing, and that's so key. What you just said, it doesn't feel stiff ever. It's always got a swing to it.
I was gonna swing the bass drum.
Yeah.
Chorus, no cymbal. Yeah, Johnny, good job.
Yeah, man. That's another one we play. It's a fun song to play. Just a, and I'll just say, not to, we're talking about Ringo here, but I always feel like I owe it to Ringo to play it as close to the right way as possible. Like, maybe not note for note, but it's got to have that,
Do you have a 4-piece or a 5-piece?
A 4-piece, yeah.
Audio? 4-piece.
A 4-piece, yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I really wanted to talk about that song because I feel like that's a song that, as you said, you know what it is right away. And I remember there was a tribute to Ringo years ago and a bunch of people got up and played that. And that's like an anthem for drummers, right? I mean, that's one of those songs that we all, like, you cut your teeth learning how to play Come Together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
With the All-Star Band, we do Frankenstein, and it's Ringo takes a break and goes back, and we do that with just me playing drums, and Edgar said, play drum solo. And I thought, instead of playing a all the time kind of drum solo like most shows, I thought I'd quote a bunch of songs, and I thought, I wonder if it's okay to quote Come Together. And I thought, I've got a quote Come Together. I start with We Will Rock You, boom, boom, bop, and get the people singing, We Will, but that's the same tempo. Doom, doom, diddle-da-da. And Steve Lukather sits over by the side and he plays the dome, dome, diddle-da-da. And I quote Ticket to Ride, Honky Tonk Woman, Immigrant Song, Wipeout, Hot for Teacher, The End. But I thought, I got to quote Ringo, because this is All-Star Band, and he's my favorite drummer of all time, my favorite song drummer. And those parts, that on The End, we can talk about that later too, but what a classic 8 bars. He's not a drum solo guy, but those 8 bars, first of all, they're perfectly in tempo, and got a metronome to it, even though there was no metronome. It's just a rhythmically melodic way he played that. So I don't want to steal the show and jump from song to song. You lead the way.
Okay. And I'll just reinforce what you just said, Greg, which is like, again, the older I get, the more I listen to him and I go, my God, he really was, I remember reading like stuff George Martin would say about, he had a great sense of rhythm. He had George was so, such a legend, but so sort of understated in that way, like saying he had a fine sense of time. He has unbelievable time. You listen to those records, like you said, there were no click tracks, there was no Pro Tools to fix stuff, and his time is like, we take it for granted. It's so amazing. It's so perfect.
And no matter what anybody says, he's told me many times, Tomorrow Never Knows is not a loop. That's him playing.
Right.
It holds. It's its chorus the whole way. All these songs. And they could edit things together, George Martin said, because of Ringo's time and groove and consistency.
Yep. Yep. Right. Right. You couldn't do that back then unless you had that perfect consistency. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, let's jump backwards a second to, we were just talking about Ticket to Ride, and I just, I made a note here because, I think even Ringo himself probably would say something like, well, I don't play any rudiments. I don't, he's so humble in terms of like his technical ability. And I think when you listen to the single stroke rolls in this song, I mean, forget about it. To me, I listen to this song over and over, and I would love to be able to play those singles as clean as he does throughout the song. Yeah.
Johnny, when people talk about rudiments, and you and I know, I mean, we did drumline and drum corps. I did drum corps at North Texas. I mean, I really think I know my rudiments, but someone once said there's only two rudiments, singles and doubles. You think of a single stroke roll and a double stroke roll. Then you think of a paradiddle. It's a single and a double and a single and a double. Right, left, right, left, left. And Ringo talks, I mean, he knows singles, he knows doubles, he knows paradiddles, and he knows flams. And so whether you're playing pataflaflas or hurtas or, flam paradiddles or lesson number 25 or a 5-stroke roll, a 7-stroke roll, a 9-stroke roll, a 13-stroke roll, a pataflafla, whatever you're playing, they're all combinations of singles and doubles. And like you just said in Ticket to Ride, it's a masterclass on singles. She's got a ticket to ride.
Yeah.
And then double stops. I played a lot of marimba in college where you 4-mallet marimba. When the hands are playing together.
Yeah.
Those are double stops. The Tony Williams way would be flams. But Ringo's way. That's very, very hard to do. See how consistent these are.
Yeah, impossible for someone like me. I'll tell you right now when I hear this song.
That's just the wheels, Johnny. But when you think about the guitar part, it's not. There's a swing there, and then later he changes it a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, what a great lead-in. Let's listen to some.
Yeah, let's listen to this.
From the album Help.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna be sad. I think it's today. The girl that's driving me mad is going away. She's got a ticket to
Here comes one.
ride. She's got a ticket to ride. Ticket to ride, but she don't care.
They're so clean and so perfect.
My favorite, Phil. Talk about taste and restraint and discipline. Just the blob. She's got a ticket to ride. That is hard to do because you're in the recording studio. You're doing all this stuff. A lot of people would be, oh, I got a big space there. She's got a ticket to ride. What can I do to fill it? Oh, on the drum. No, how about she's got a ticket to ride? Can you fast forward to that, Phil? I think
Absolutely, yeah. And again, yeah, and to me, right, it puts such a period, like a hard stop to that point. Again, it's such a great, well thought out part that I'll bet he really didn't even think that much. He just knew to do it, right? He just knew.
I bet you too. He didn't think. You said period. It's like a period or it's like an exclamation point a lot of times.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let's see if I can come up to that part here.
She's got a ticket to ride, and she don't care.
The way the song grooves too during the chorus parts where he's just playing the hi-hat, just a straight eighth note part on the hi-hat. He goes from the little syncopated thing to that straight groove. It's just the way it complements.
Even though when I was a little kid, I thought he was going, "My baby don't care." He's not doing that. His percussion, the tambourine is doing that.
Yeah.
My baby don't. It gives that double time feel, even though he's playing. But think about where the tambourine goes in that beat. And the way he played tambourine and claves, bongos, rubber soul, especially. You're gonna lose that girl. It's like a bongo feature. And
Yeah.
so bongos, he plays timpani. Every little thing she does, boom, 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 boom. He's got timpani, claves, maracas, a lot of maracas,
Yeah.
bongos. Wow, Gary Estridge brought out a set of period piece Ludwig bongos, like the kind he played, that you reached underneath and tune with a key underneath in the bongo.
Wow.
And we sat around playing those at sound check. I think we sang, "You don't realize how much I need you," and he just started playing, and it was just like we were back
Wow.
in that
Yeah.
moment. Just percussion playing is phenomenal.
I was going to say, it never gets any credit for that either. Like the maracas are not an easy instrument to play correctly. Again,
And in Masterclass, he goes over it, man. He talks about how he played the maracas, the way it was parallel. He's got the same kind of maracas he used in the bongos and the hand claps. Nowadays, when you do an album, if Grand Theft Audio went in the studio and did an album, you would probably hire Luis Conte to come out and play percussion, or Lenny Castro, or somebody. But, well, why don't we just have Johnny D play percussion? Well, he's the drum set guy. You're a specialist. Now, Ringo was a drum set and hand percussion specialist for those
yeah.
songs.
Yeah. And right, when you think about how all the guys, Ringo, of course, but all the guys in the Beatles just picked up whatever instrument they had to pick up to cut the track. I mean, when you watch the Get Back movie, you see, I want to say that the original version of Let It Be was Paul was on piano, John playing bass, I think, for the basic track. And I think I read that. And then when they went back and Paul ended up recording the final bass track for that. But I think you see John playing bass.
Isn't the Get Back Peter Jackson
Ah.
version 8 hours of just pure joy? Because you see these guys creating the songs, the way Paul starts strumming the bass, JoJo was him, and then they all come in, and it's what a masterpiece. I mean, Let It Be, the original one, was a little bit of it was a little more sad because it was more of like a movie of them kind of showing that they were breaking up, and
Yeah.
George. But Get Back is a celebration of how much fun they had and how much they loved each other.
Absolutely.
Creating. You see Ringo back there on his drums, and he's always ready to go. He's ready to go. He's such a song band guy.
Every time, Greg, I know. That's exactly what I took away from that was like, my God, there were moments or periods of time where he's sitting there while they're figuring something out or whatever they're doing. He's just sitting there. And then when it's time to go, he goes, they hit the red light, and he's perfect every time, consistently, like
So consistent.
so
Yeah.
consistent,
What a band.
so reliable. Yeah. Well, the next song I want to play is one that we've talked about many times. And I think you told me this story that I never knew, that our friend Stan Lynch from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers based one of his most famous songs, Breakdown, off of this song. And I think you know the song when I tell you that.
Yeah, in my life.
In my life, yeah.
Sam and I have talked so much about how, and you and I too, about how he didn't go, "There are places I remember." He played the hi-hat, one hi-hat per bar. One. And when I asked Ringo the first time I met him in '03 when we were playing together, I said, "How did you come up with that part to In My Life?" And he thought for a second, and he said, "I think I just did what I did on Anna. Anna." And that's Arthur Alexander's song. And that's what the drummer on that song played too. But he knew that beat. He had it in his head. And he thought that's going to be the perfect beat to bring in on John's In My Life. But again, those double stops, he plays those between the double and cymbal. And he always goes to the bell he loves to go to the bell on the cymbal on the chorus. But he goes, so consistently and so even. And Stan said, yeah, that's where I got the vibe of, I put more of a swing on it. I don't care
Yeah.
if you love it. Break down. But he said, I got that from Ringo. I mean, so many of us, we do sessions, we do recording sessions for albums, movies, TV shows, demos, whatever it is. And people often say, can you put kind of a Ringo fill in there? It could be one of my favorite ones. Or it could be like Rain or like The End. That Ringo swing, people ask for it all the time.
Yeah. Yep. I know. I know. Man.
You've had it
And-
on.
No, and I'll just say to just emphasize what you just said about in my life too, that double stop thing. Again, I would love to hear from other drummers that either play this song or have tried to play it. If they, I struggle to play it the way he does it, to make it sound as even as he does with my weak right hand. In my case, it's my right hand, it's my weak hand. But to play it, sometimes it'll happen for me, but in many instances, I got no problem playing those 16th. It's like a 16th note, right? But it's like my right hand just isn't as clean and even as my other hand, and
Here's a rudiment. Not a rudiment, but here's an exercise for drummers out there that can play their paradiddle-diddles, blistering speed. Not that that's blistering, but try playing. Just sit and play double stops.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's hard.
Even to put it in the right place. And we do work to do. Hamish Stewart, I got work to do. Average White Band. And Ringo and I do this. We do that together. And sometimes we just get into this lean because he grooves so hard. When he hits his kick, he'll lean in with his shoulder and then back with the snare. Two. And I'll be playing those and I'll look over and that's another one of those moments I go, I play on my snare, on my floor tom, all through the show.
Oh man. And he plays them effortlessly still, right? I mean, he can just nail it. Yeah.
Doesn't warm up. I'm sitting there, on the base of my shoe like this. I got a catcher's tennis shoe, and it's a great practice pad. It's quiet, and you can sit in the dressing room and not drive people nuts. So before every show, Johnny, I'm going like, drum corps, North Texas, single, double, single, double, single, double. Why are you doing that? I said, well, I'm going to play that solo in Frankenstein. I got to, okay. Well, he doesn't warm up. You hit the nail on the head effortlessly.
Yeah.
Just, bang.
I know. Whenever I see you guys and I see him playing, you can see he's so loose. And I know you've told me he doesn't warm up. He just it's his thing. It's his method is to just go out and play, and man, it works.
And he's not clamping down with the fulcrum and tight where people have wrist problems or carpal tunnel or everything. He's got a great technique, but it's a nice loose grip. So that helps with the swing too, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's hear a little bit of In My Life. This is such another.
One hi-hat per bar.
There are places I remember all my life, though some have changed, some forever, not for better. Some have gone and some remain. All these places have their moments
Double stop.
with lovers and friends.
Oh,
I
yeah.
still can recall. Some are dead and some are living. In my life,
And as you said, always swinging too.
but of all these friends and lovers, there is no one compares with you. And these memories lose their meaning
Almost stop.
The people and things that went before. I know I'll often stop and think about them. In my life, I love you more.
Stop.
Yeah.
So great.
So great, man.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I mean,
What's
these
next? What do you got? What do you got?
are all right. All right. We're going to keep on moving down this list. Next song to talk about is Drive My Car. Great intro that Ringo comes in, this really odd time thing. Took me forever to figure it out. I know you broke it down when you did your Beatles channel special last year to celebrate Ringo's birthday. And maybe you could just talk about
Forever
that.
to figure it out, Johnny.
Say that again, Greg?
I cut you off. Sorry. We got
No, no. I was just going to say the intro, the where Ringo comes in is so weird, just in terms of what you might normally think of in terms of the timing, but it's so great. Shall I
And
play
you
it?
know what? It's weird for us because we always heard it as one being in a different place. It's like if you listen to Stuart Copeland with Police songs, you might think that Spirits in the Material World starts off one different place, or Murder by Number, one is in a different place, or John Bonham, Rock and Roll. Once you know where one is, it's not weird at all, and it's not an odd time. The guitar starts on the end of four. I always thought it started on one. Ba 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 bo beep boom ba ba. It doesn't go ba 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 bo beep.
Yeah. Yep.
It goes 1, 2, 3, 4 ba 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 bo beep bo ba 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 bo do 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 bang. So
Yeah.
it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 ba do ba da bo dee boo da ba da ba boo. Ask a
Yeah.
girl. 1, 2 do bang. They knew where one was. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and. But when you listen to it, it's deceptive because you think the first guitar note's 1.
Yeah.
Did you play
Yeah.
that intro?
Yeah. Let's play it. Let's listen to it.
Asked the girl what she wanted to be. She said,
Take it apart.
baby, can't you see? Wanna be famous,
Yeah.
a star of the screen, but you can do something
Yeah.
in between.
Again-
When they're singing, you can do something in between. He's not going. He's not spazzing out and chopsing. He's playing with those lyrics. You can do something in between. He's playing rhythmically melodic with the vocals.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
there's that kick pattern again. I'm not saying he uses it all the time, but he uses it, I think, probably more than the other patterns on those first several Beatle albums.
Yeah, and again, once again, just have to talk about the groove, the time, the feel of the song, and we haven't even really got into Ringo's feel, and that to me is the secret sauce to everything is his feel. He was just born gifted with this incredible feel that I mean, he plays that song as, like you said, a simple groove in the hi-hat and the bass drum and the snare drum, and he plays those accents, and it sounds so great.
Well, I don't want to spoil it for those people that are going to watch Masterclass, but I'm going to entice you to watch Masterclass, masterclass.com, Ringo Starr, by telling you this little trailer. When he first started playing with the Eddie Clayton Skiffle group, their time was not good. They were rushing like crazy because they were excited. We're playing live, and people were trying to dance. By playing gigs and gigs and gigs and more gigs, his time got better, and the band time got better. So you can't just, play your first gig and expect your feel and your time to be great. You need to play a lot. And I try to tell young musicians, play with other people. You could have the best time in the world practicing with YouTube, and I want to plug my YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel. It's at Gregg Drums, Gregg Drums, at Gregg Drums. I've got about a dozen videos so far. I'm a YouTuber now. Anyway, I want to plug the channel. But I tell people a lot, play with other musicians. You can have the best time in the world with a metronome, but when you play with a bass player who's slowing down or speeding up, or a guitar player who's slowing down and speeding up, or you play in front of a bunch of people and you're all nervous. So in Masterclass, he talks about those very first gigs and how he got better over time because we all need to play, play, play. And again, the more you play, the better life is.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And by the time, he'd been playing with Rory Storm for I don't know how long when he started playing with the Beatles, but obviously that was a big reason why they got him in the band was he was just, with all due respect to Pete Best, I mean, he was, a better drummer. And
Absolutely, with
yeah,
more experience and better groove, and he'd been playing longer, and he was the top guy in Liverpool. When
right.
George Martin said, "You got to get the top guy," that's Ringo.
Yeah,
They got the best guy, and all of a sudden they'll all say, George and John and Paul are quoted all over the place saying, "We became the Beatles. Then we became the band that
yeah,
we were."
yeah, absolutely. And it just, you wonder if what they might have been if they didn't have Ringo,
I don't
It's,
even want to think about it.
yeah. I hope you enjoyed part one of Track Talk, the legendary drumming of Ringo Starr with my special guest, Gregg Bissonette. Be sure to check out part two, and please subscribe to Live from My Drum Room with John DeChristopher. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you soon. Thanks.